Welcome to another episode of Shifty's 49ers Talk. It's your boy Shifty coming at you with another one. In this video, we're going to talk about the three major trades that we saw during the first round of the NFL draft. And we're also going to talk about my top three favorite teams' drafts so far. And that will be something that I will update as the draft continues over the next couple of days. Without further ado, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. The first major trade of the night was the Detroit Lions moving up 20 spots in the first round to select wide receiver Jameson Williams. They actually traded with division rival Minnesota. Overall, I really do like this trade a lot more for the Detroit Lions. They didn't give up a huge amount of draft capital, all things considered, to move up 20 spots in the first round of the NFL draft. So I like this. Plus, I like the pick of Jameson Williams. Now, we know Jameson Williams tore his ACL. He's going to maybe take some time to rehab. But here's the thing. The Lions aren't realistically competing this season. If you can get Jameson Williams to play maybe 10 games as a rookie, pair him with Amon-Ra St. Brown, keep building the offensive line. I don't think Jared Goff is a long-term solution, but maybe next year you draft a quarterback early and bam, he's coming into a great situation in Detroit. And I love Dan Campbell as a head coach. The second big trade of the night was the Cardinals acquiring Hollywood Brown. They also got the number 100 overall pick, which is a third-round pick, compensatory pick for number 23 overall. I do like, and they traded with, of course, the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I do like the pick the Baltimore Ravens took in Tyler Linderbaum, but for the Cardinals, here's the thing. They lost Christian Kirk in free agency. You replace him with Hollywood Brown, and he is electric speed. Kyler Murray has a rocket of an arm. You pair him with DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore, Zach Ertz, plethora of weapons for Kyler Murray in Arizona. The third big trade of the night was, of course, the Eagles acquiring A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans. Immediately, they gave him a 4-year, $100 million deal, $57 million of which is guaranteed. For that, they gave up the 18th overall pick and 101 overall. Now, I do also like this trade for Tennessee simply because they took my favorite wide receiver in the draft, which was Treylon Burks, and I think you get him at obviously a much cheaper deal than what A.J. Brown will now be getting paid. Plus, they also did trade for Robert Woods from the LA Rams. So, and he'll miss maybe the start of the season, but ultimately Tannehill will have a lot of really solid weapons to work with, in my opinion. Plus, they got pick 101 overall, and you never know what could happen there. Now, when we move on to the three teams that have the favorite draft so far, number one has to be the New York Jets. It's pretty obvious they're the only team with 3 picks. But when you get Sauce Gardner, number one cornerback in the draft, then you take Garrett Wilson, who was my number 2 wide receiver in the draft, but a lot of people's number 1 wide receiver in the draft, and they need another guy there. Fantastic. And another huge position of need is edge. They traded up and took Jermaine Johnson. Even if they didn't have another pick, I think they could still maybe be my favorite draft of any team, but they have second-round picks and, of course, later picks too, so the Jets destroying it. They're owning the draft so far. Love what they're doing there. Now let's talk about another team in New York, New Jersey, depending on where you want to say that they play. The Giants, gotta love it. Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal. You could argue best offensive tackle, best edge player, both massive positions of need for the New York Giants. So you can't hate on that. Now, again, look, if you have 2 picks in the top 7, it's going to be hard not to be amongst those favorite drafts, especially when we just factor in the first round. But man, Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal, any Giants fan would have happily signed up for that prior to today. Now, when we look at the third favorite team, there are a number of actually teams. I'm going to go to my notes here because I was taking notes as I was watching. I wrote down the Lions because here's the thing. You get Aiden Hutchinson, my favorite edge player in the draft. You get Jameson Williams, who could be the best wide receiver in the draft. Hard to say no to that. But I'm actually going to go with the Baltimore Ravens because, look, you get Kyle Hamilton, someone who a month ago was a top 5 pick on everyone's board. You get Tyler Linderbaum, someone who a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, was a top 10 pick on everyone's board. You get both of those guys later there. They fill needs. And man, I think they just picked up 2 fantastic players. Now, I'd like to see what Baltimore does later in the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if with one of their next picks, they take like a Calvin Austin from Memphis, who can replace the speed that Hollywood Brown brought to that offense. But overall, I love what Baltimore did. I do have to give shout outs to, the Green Bay Packers, even though I didn't love the Quay Walker pick. I think, they added some really good talent to their defense. And of course, the Kansas City Chiefs were right there with Baltimore and Detroit for being in my top 3 because, they got some really good defensive weapons. Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, hard to hate on that. But overall, the Jets, the Giants, and the Baltimore Ravens are my top 3 teams so far. Now, of course, plenty of things can change over the next 2 days. Can't wait to see what happens. My voice is getting a little bit shot. I got to rest it up for tomorrow because we're going to be streaming all day long. What a fantastic time of the year it is, folks, for football. And you know what, guys? I'm going to say 2 things. The butt counts, and I'm going to catch y'all on the flip side.